Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga, who both star in Passing. Thank you guys so much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I'm going to start with you first, Tessa. Your character, Rini, was able to pass, but had a very different relationship with the practice. Why was it so important to showcase her aspect of that inner turmoil?
I think because it's, doing justice to Nella Larsen's work. I think in some ways, the book is obviously about the history of racial passing, but it also is about the ways in which we pass for all sorts of things. And I think Nella, there's an irony in that Irene, that is the one that is resolute that she will not pass, though she could, is passing in every other way. Whereas Claire is the one that is, has crossed the color line, but in many ways is a more authentic, is more authentic in terms of showing up as the fullness of who she actually is. And I think what Nella is trying to do is sort of turn that concept of passing on its head and present the ways in which, the idea of race is kind of silly.
Yeah. It's true. And I love that you said that. And Ruth, I'll turn it to you. We really got to get an understanding about Claire with time. And I think your character really inspires a very different conversation about race and identity. What are your thoughts about your evolution in that character in terms of like how we begin to see her?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, just to follow on from what Tessa was saying so beautifully about who is passing, which one of them really is passing in the more traditional sense, and the irony is, and the great thing and subversive thing about Nella is that she makes Claire sort of a rather disagreeable character in many ways, even though she's not wearing so many masks. And we think, oh, that's a great thing to be. Her true self is not one that's easily liked, and Nella does do that on purpose, I think, to show to show the sort of the complexities and nuances and the ambiguities of being our true self. We all say, it's important to be our true selves, and we encourage other people to be our true selves. But do we really want that? When we see who our true selves are, and that's super valid. We live in this kind of, this magical thinking sort of universe where we don't really consider things like that, which, what happens when people aren't entirely likable. And it seems so outlandish, but actually that's who we are. I think human beings, we have just this sort of, this at once sort of overly positive and desperately cynical view of ourselves, but neither is the truth. And it's somewhere in between. And Nella seems to get that. And this is 100 years old, this book.
For sure. And there's a lot to say about hiding in plain sight. And Tessa, you kind of nailed this. And I was sort of thinking about this and ruminating about it when I was watching. But then there's the burden of identity as a secret. So if we just talk about just identity, we're not even talking about race at this point. Is it ever worth hiding who we are? Ever? Right. That's a hard question.
It's sort of a complicated question. I mean, for me, I think a lot about the artists that moved me growing up, that made me think about performance. And they were, folks like David Bowie and Prince and Grace Jones, Eartha Kitt, Mae West. They were people that had a kind of persona that created a kind of identity that is both a partially an expression of them and also a way to create some boundary, I think. And so in some ways I would say, to that end, I think sometimes it's useful and imperative to save some parts of yourself or yourself.
Thank you for saying that. And thank you guys so much. Again, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com. And I have the honor of being with Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga, who both star in Passing. It's a really beautiful film, guys, and it inspires a really interesting conversation. Thank you so much for the movie, and thank you for inspiring this great dialogue. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.